Hi everyone, it's TheHande again from Glasgow, and another video update, and with much better audio this time because I actually realized that my laptop has a much better microphone than the digital camera. So for future video updates I'm going to be doing them like this from my laptop, and it's also better because I can do this. Yeah, you might hear some weird noises, that's just the computer. I hope that doesn't annoy anybody. Anyway, I'm sitting here drinking Coca-Cola Light, or as it's called over here, Diet Coke. So every time I go to the store and ask for a Coca-Cola Light, they just stand there and stare at me because they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, the point of this video blog is because of something that occurred to me when I did my last video blog, was that I told people that to go to my actual blog, which is on WordPress, because that's where I'll be posting most of my material right now, because I'm in Glasgow and can't really do videos from here. But I realized that there's a lot of my subscribers that may have never even gone to my blog before, don't know what it's like or how to find stuff on it, although I would think that it's pretty self-explanatory. I decided to make this video blog all about my blog and, just a general tour of my blog and what it contains. So in case you've never seen it before, this is the front page, and there are two menus you can see right there, two rows of menus. The top one has three links, and they're, first of all, just a general introduction if you don't know who I am. Why would you be even here if you didn't know who I was? Then there's a quick review key. That's not really worth checking out unless you missed my last video update, because it relates to the games part of my blog. We'll get there. And then there's the manga corner, and this is the only part of my blog that is entirely in Finnish, and really nothing spectacular, just a couple of posts there. And even if you're mildly curious, I don't recommend going on Google Translator, putting the link up there, hoping that you can make sense of it, because Google Translator has a lot of difficulties translating Finnish. So anyway, after that we get to the lower menu, and this is where we get to the actual parts of the blog that are of any interest. The first big one that you'll see, obviously, of course, it's games. And the main links that you see there are reviews, other blogs, and game hints and tips. But if you move over to reviews, you'll also see a link for preliminary reviews. If you click the reviews, you get all the full game reviews that I've written and put it up on my blog. And the preliminary reviews, like the name suggests, sometimes, not always, usually with newer games, I will post a preliminary review of them to give you an idea of what I've thought of the game so far, and that's something I do before I feel comfortable writing a full review of the game. But that's something that I'm not doing a lot now for obvious reasons, and it's also something that I'm planning on doing less and less, because a big problem with preliminary reviews is me starting a game, making a preliminary review, and then maybe getting sick and tired of the game and not finishing that preliminary review. In other blogs, under other blogs, other blogs itself contains all the game-related blogs that aren't reviews. So a lot of top 10s and things like that, those are worth checking out, I guess. However, under other blogs, you'll also find a brief history of Nintendo. Now, this is a little thing that I started writing. It's not finished, it's not complete, there are spelling errors, and there's a big disclaimer at the bottom where it says that not all of the facts may be 100% correct, but if you are interested in the history of Nintendo, you might want to find it interesting. The other thing is a general page on video game trivia, not a trivia quiz or anything like that. It's just general topics of video games that I find interesting, and I try to find answers to those questions that I find interesting. And then game hints and tips is a separate part of the blog, which is devoted entirely to sort of simple strategy guides and beginner's guides to video games, as well as walkthroughs. And you might be thinking, why am I bothering with this when we have game FAQs, which I myself use? okay, there's no practical reason for it. It's just something that I like to do, and so that's not probably a big part. I think most people will probably find the review section much more interesting, and especially because I started putting up review history so people can actually compare, you know, what I think of a newer game as opposed to, say, games in the same genre or games in the same series that have come before. Alright, next big section, which I've also made a lot of videos on, of course, is movies. And under movies, you are going to find the big sections are full reviews, original versus remake, and other blogs, again. And on full reviews, very self-explanatory, these are full, written out, movie reviews. A lot of them don't have pictures, which I have to apologize for, because that's something that didn't occur to me. So there's a lot of reviews that you're not going to find like a picture on, and sometimes even the title doesn't necessarily give away what movie am I actually reviewing. You're going to have to read the first few sentences. Under full reviews, there's also a section called quick reviews. Now, what quick reviews are is that I usually like to take a set of movies, usually 3. That's the number I've stuck to so far. I like to take 3 movies, either so far I've stuck to movie series or movie trilogies. But I think in the future I might take just random 3 movies that do have something in common, and I compare them to one another to see which movie I think is superior. Like I did this with the Dollars trilogy. I did this with the first 3 Resident Evil movies. I did this with the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and yeah, it's a little fun section that I like doing, and that's why I devoted a sort of a section of my blog to it. Or a section of this menu, so to speak. Original versus remake is a feature on the blog that I was planning on doing a lot of, but I've only done a couple. So basically, I'm taking a movie and its remake, comparing them blow for blow. First of all, looking at what's similar about them, what's different about them, how is one superior over the other, how is one inferior compared to the other, for both movies, and then finally my final verdict, which movie I think is superior. And before I get a lot of hate from people who, especially like those people who always think that every remake ever sucks, you know, there's 3 possible outcomes for each blog. Either the original wins, the remake wins, or I deem both versions worth watching for different reasons. Under other blogs, not a lot worth mentioning. There's once again, top 10s and things like that get classified here, but there's a separate link for that, which I'll point out in a minute. But there are some incidental movie tidbits here, like I made a blog about the James Bond barrel sequences, if anybody is interested. So, that kind of stuff. Also, under other blogs is a link to my Rennie Harlin movie checklist. And yes, so I am in the process of getting all the movies by Finnish director Rennie Harlin, which some of you may remember from timeless classics as Die Hard 2, Cutthroat Island, Deep Blue Sea. But, you know, I enjoy his movies, and therefore I've decided that he's my current director to follow, director whose movies I am attempting to collect as a whole. And next big section, Formula 1. Some of you might be a little surprised about this, because I don't make a lot of videos on Formula 1s for numerous reasons. Big reason is that not a lot of people care about Formula 1s. That's just a given. Unless you're into the sport, you probably don't care about it. And another problem is that people get very opinionated about it. So I just don't want that kind of attention from people, especially on YouTube. Anyway, it is a big part of my blog. In fact, I would say the most consistent section of my blog is about Formula 1. And under Formula 1, you are going to find the F1 race report key, the race rankings for 2010 and 2011, and then other blogs and news. Now, the race report key, what that relates to is if you move over other blogs and news, it shows another link to the race reports from 2010 and 2011. So in 2010 and 2011, I wrote very detail-heavy sort of reports on each race of that year. that's a big part of my blog, is that I like to watch a race and then I like to review what sort of happened and what was interesting and things like that. Probably, however, what's more interesting in my view are probably the race ranking lists, because what I do every year is that I then after the races I rate them, put them in a list according to which race I thought was the most exciting. And so if you wanted to know which race of 2010 was the most exciting and which race of 2011 was the most exciting for me, then you want to check those out. The race report key simply explains how the race report works. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you do find it a little confusing, maybe check that out first. And other blogs and news, I follow the world of Formula 1 very closely, so I like to comment on news articles and what's going on, and maybe if there's some speculation going on, maybe throw my 2 cents in. And I've posted a couple of top 10s there as well. They're pretty depressing, like, well, I had a list of the most tragic deaths in Formula 1. If somebody finds that interesting, you can go ahead and look at that. The next big section of my blog is stuff, so everything that doesn't really comfortably go to any other part of the blog goes under here. And if you just click stuff, you know, there's a lot of announcements and things like that, but there's some interesting things there as well. Might be worth a watch. Under there you'll find top 10s, so all my lists, top 10 lists and things like that, and people might find that interesting because, you know, I do that on my YouTube channel, and there's a lot of lists there that I perhaps don't feel that feel that maybe not worth making a YouTube video out of, or some lists which are actually sort of in the process of becoming YouTube videos. So if you kind of want to get a hint of what's in the horizon, you might want to look out for that. There's also a section of anime, so just general stuff on, you know, again, top 10 lists, but also series reviews and general commentaries on things. Music, so album reviews, and every year I've usually taken time to comment on the Eurovision Song Contest, but this year I don't think I'll be able to do that. And a lot of other stuff, top 10s as well. And finally, there's a little page on the history of dubbing companies in Finland. So dubbing is something that I find interesting, and yeah, most people probably won't find that too fascinating, but I suppose some people might find it interesting. Translators, rants, and reviews. There are no subsections to this one because it's just a single feature of the blog that I felt really proud of, and so that's why I put it up there in the menu. So I don't do rants so much, but basically what this is me commenting on anything that has to do with translation, whether it's subtitles, whether it's the names of comic books, or dubbing. As I've mentioned before, dubbing is something that interests me greatly, but I haven't done that many rants. Maybe when I started doing this section, originally there were a lot more rants, but now it's become more of me reviewing dubs. And again, you might find this interesting. There's one particularly rant that I think people might find interesting. It has to do with an anime series called Sherlock Hound, but I'll leave it at that. And then the final big section of my blog is my Captain N fan corner. Yes, I am a big fan of Captain N the Game Master. It's one of my favorite cartoons ever. In fact, it's my favorite cartoon based on video games in general. And so I've devoted one whole chunk of my blog to Captain N. And what you'll find under there is actually a different intro page, which looks like this. And under that, there's reviews of all the episodes from all 3 seasons, and recently I had to go through the trouble of actually hunting down or looking at the episodes from season 3 on YouTube. It was a challenge because those are the episodes that got left off the DVD, which I have, thankfully. You can also find what I think are the 10 best and the 10 worst episodes of Captain N. So if you're looking for recommendations, that's one thing to look at. And of course, character comparisons. Whenever there is a cartoon series about a video game, of course you have to compare those characters in there. This is something that I've been thinking about making a video out of, but it's been discussed to death, so I just decided, I'll just write it in my blog. And if you find it interesting, go look at it, especially the Robot Master comparison, because that also ties in the Mega Man cartoon series by Ruby Spears. And under Captain N, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll also find a little section on the cartoon adaptations of The Legend of Zelda. So first of all, there's a blog about how Link and Zelda made a cartoon reappearance on Captain N after their own solo cartoon series ended. And under there, you will also find my reviews on all 13 episodes of The Legend of Zelda cartoon. I already made a YouTube video about this, but if you just want to see it in text form, you can go there. And also, there's a comparison blog about how the monsters from Zelda looked like in the cartoon and how faithful they were to their game counterparts. And I think some people might find that interesting. If you're a Zelda fan, I think you definitely will. And that pretty much covers it. Like I said, if you want to check out my blog, the address is www.thehande.wordpress.com. I hope you enjoyed this video, and this is TheHande, and see you on the next one.